my name is Jamie. I'm here with my good friend Dave Patchett, the renowned artist of many metal albums such as Cathedral and Electric Wizard. We're here to debate flat earth theory, of which my friend Dave is a firm believer. So Dave, can you define for us and the viewer what is flat earth theory?
Flat earth theory, I've got an actual model of the flat earth which I've painted myself between us. And so the earth will be laid out. Could be an everlasting plane, or it could have four corners like this piece of cardboard. Essentially the big difference between the flat earth and the globe is that the southern hemisphere gets very small on the bottom of the globe, whereas in the flat earth model, the southern hemisphere is very expansive, and Antarctica is the white surroundings, the icy wilderness that holds the oceans in.
So you're saying that this white spot here is Antarctica?
No, the opposite. That's the Arctic. It's the North Pole and the Arctic. The North Pole is actually in the centre of the flat earth model.
That's here. Yeah, there we go. Show it for our viewers. And so the Antarctic is where?
The Antarctic, at the risk of repeating myself, is this white expanse of ice. It's all the way around, it's more or less a 200-foot wall of ice. So that's what holds the oceans in. And we don't know how far it expands. Well, I don't know. Some people might know. It's possible that there was explorations under Admiral Byrd in 1957, and he had an aircraft carrier. So it's quite possible they flew and found whether there is an edge or an everlasting plane. But the likes of me, well, we can only speculate.
So what happens if you were to travel from the centre of the Earth outwards?
Well, you would eventually, on both models, you would eventually meet Antarctica, and you would go across Antarctica. On the globe, that's not a big journey. It's probably about 2,000 miles, maybe less. Whereas here, we just don't know how long that journey would be. It could be for millions of miles.
Antarctica looks like on the globe a smaller continent than USA, so it's not 2,000 miles. Would you agree?
Across it, if you went from there to there, where there's a peninsula, possibly, remembering that the whole thing is only 8,000 miles, I would say it probably is 2,000 miles from there to there, for instance. But if you went from there to there, it might be 1,500 miles. Making a rough judgment on the basis of the proportions of the Earth, which is 8,000 miles in diameter.
Okay. So what is the radius of the Earth given the spherical model?
That would be 4,000 miles, half of the diameter. And if you're thinking of the circumference, that's 25,000 miles. Whereas on this, it's more like 80,000 miles to go right round here. It would be about 80,000 miles.
Okay. Are these statistics that you checked?
Sort of. I mean, this is the crux proof of the flat Earth. Because if you go round Antarctica, you would expect to get round there in less than a year if you was in a ship. And more or less any kind of a cruising ship. You'd expect to take much less than a year to go around there, and you would expect to log at the very most 12,000 miles. But if you was to go around the sea edge of Antarctica on the flat Earth model, you would be going a long distance. And Captain Cook, Sharp and Shackleton made 3 trips circumnavigating Antarctica. And all of them came up with the same statistics. They kept diaries, they kept logbooks, they kept a record of the mileage, and they all 3 took over 3 years to go around Antarctica, which is impossible here. Could be done in 9 months easily. All 3 took over 3 years, and all of them logged over 60,000 nautical miles, which would be about 70,000 ordinary miles, proving the flat Earth beyond any doubt.
So this for you is the entire circumference of the world. So why isn't it they did not see this massive white expanse when they were travelling the trajectory of Antarctica?
Well, they saw the cliffs. I mean, they can't go take their sailing ships into the cliffs, because that would damage the sailing ships. So they stayed within the boundaries of the cliffs, you know, avoiding icebergs, etc.
So there's a boundary to the Earth.
Yes, these ice cliffs.
Can people fly over the cliffs?
They make the excuse that you can't because it's too cold. Well, if you believe that, you might be a little bit gullible. I think that they've done that, and they found something that they're not telling us about. And in 1958, 1 year after Admiral Byrd went on this expedition with aircraft carriers, they closed Antarctica. Nobody can go there, no one can explore Antarctica from now on. No lone explorer is allowed to. There's gunboats. 51 countries have signed a treaty, and there's gunboats all the way around, stopping people from going to Antarctica on any sort of exploration.
But people have done, they must have done.
They haven't, not since 1958.
Okay.
Admiral Byrd was the last person to truly explore Antarctica. If somebody has, it's been done in secret, and it's the top people, you know, the top of the pyramid of society.
This is who you mean by they?
Yeah, when I refer to they, I'm talking about Jesuit scientists, Freemasonry, bankers and corporations, the super rich, who all belong to secret societies.
Why would they want to visit Antarctica?
Well, they want to control the world. They want the New World Order. They want a one world government. That's always been their aim. So they make it their business to know what world they live in, and to keep it secret from us. Sounds like a fantastic conspiracy, but the way I look at it, any study of 9/11 proves that it was an inside job, and they've been lying about it. Any sort of a study about the moon landings proves that man hasn't been to the moon, that it was faked. Therefore, they are liars.
Just a little bit. What do you think is so special about Antarctica that it should be hidden from the rest of us?
Well, here we go into speculation, and I will, if you like, speculate. The biblical model of the flat Earth says, and it sounds pretty crazy, that there is a dome, maybe made out of glass, maybe made out of metal. And it's not just the Bible, it's every ancient religion, every ancient society believed that there was a dome, maybe, could be any amount of height, but possibly around the 10,000 mile mark, and it could start anywhere around the Earth. We don't know how far out it is, where the, if you like, the enclosed edge might be. Now, some flat earthers don't believe in the dome. They think it's just a flat, never-ending expanse with the possibility of other wells of life, here, there and everywhere, way outside the frozen waste. There could be other worlds, and that would actually conveniently explain the possibility of aliens. I don't know anything about aliens, I don't know whether they exist or not, but certainly if there are aliens, they're explained more easily by people hopping over the ice than by the idea of coming from planets that are many light years away.
So it's for that reason that Antarctica is kept from us? For aliens?
Well, if they told the truth about Antarctica, the fact that it's massive and that it surrounds the Earth, that would do away with their theory. The heliocentric theory is their theory. Copernicus was a Freemason, Kepler was a Freemason, Newton was a Freemason. Science has been controlled by Jesuits and Freemasons since the 15th century. And their basic idea is Luciferian. They're sun worshippers, so they wanted to put the sun at the centre of the universe.
Right, so you believe that the
Earth
sun
is the centre of the universe.
Okay. Because you don't believe in gravity either, do you?
Gravity?
No.
No, gravity makes no sense at all.
To what degree?
Well, before gravity was invented by Newton, man was perfectly happy, civilizations were perfectly happy, the Egyptians, Sumer, the Chinese civilization, the Aztec civilization, etc., etc., were all perfectly happy with the law of density. The law of density says that when the apple fell off the tree, it goes to the ground because it's heavier than the air, it's denser than the air. Now, if the apple would have been instead a balloon filled with hot air or helium, it would have gone up. It's a simple law. Lighter than the air goes up, heavier than the air goes down. Very simple. No need for gravity on the flat Earth. The gravity theory has just been theorised in order to justify the fact that you could, on a globe, you couldn't hold the oceans in. I mean, they would just slide off, they would fall off. Don't forget the globe is spinning at over 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Can you imagine the consternation of the waters of the deep oceans? You know? By that token, gravity is really, really powerful. It doesn't exist. But the theory makes it really, really, really powerful to hold the oceans in. And yet, we know that a butterfly can flap its wings and just fly away. It doesn't stick to the Earth. Gravity is not strong enough to stick it to the Earth. So gravity is a nonsense. It's such a contradiction that it's a nonsense.
Describe the word consternation.
Alright. A flying tennis ball, having gone in a puddle, will throw out water, will spit out water, will spiral out from the tennis ball. Well, that must be like what the ocean wants to do without gravity. And that's, it would be, the seas would be at their roughest on the equator where the Earth is spinning fastest. The truth is that the seas are at their roughest around the Antarctic, where the seas are actually spinning the least fast of all.
Do you have a reason for that? As a flat earthist?
Yes. The reason is very simple, that the Earth is still, and therefore there's no need for gravity and no need to explain why the waters don't ripple up and become extremely rough around the fastest point of the globe, which would be the equator.
So you're saying that the seas are roughest in a place that we can't check for ourselves?
Well, it can, but it's Captain Cook wrote in his diary that it's extremely hazardous because the seas are very rough.
But he couldn't
close
see
to the
because
Antarctic.
he kept within the boundaries of these mountains.
Yes, he kept within 100 miles or so. He went as close as he could. He was looking for gaps. He wanted to actually explore the Arctic and to find a bay for his ship, but he never found a bay the whole of the way round.
A way to see the Antarctic?
A natural bay he could not find.
Right, but were the seas like rougher as he neared the outskirts of this disk world that you're speaking of?
Yes, I mean, always climate is changing, so there would be rough and then not so rough and then rough. But generally speaking, the roughest seas are round close to the Antarctic, much rougher than at the equator.
How deep is the world that you speak of?
How deep is this?
Well, we have 3 layers to the Earth. Is that encapsulated in your theory?
No, we don't know what's inside the Earth. We've only drilled 8 miles down. That's the deepest drilling that there's ever been. So when they show you sections of the globe, they're just guessing, they're just speculating.
So what agenda?
Well, it's just pseudoscience. We've had pseudoscience for 500 years. Once you tell one lie, like the globe theory is a lie, you have to keep on telling lies to justify it.
So you don't believe in space travel either?
No.
Would you elaborate on that?
Certainly. There is something called the latest project. I forget the name of it. It might be the Orion project. And the idea is that the next time we send men out to space, we're going to be going far afield, possibly Mars. But they're saying, the scientists are saying, there's a major problem, and the problem is the Van Allen belt of radiation. And there's literally hundreds of miles of that, from about 500 miles up. And the speculation, or the proof, is that this radiation would kill anybody in a space rocket, unless there was like 3 yards of lead or something. And they're actually admitting that it can't be done at the moment until we overcome this radiation. Well, isn't that rather strange? There's a 1968 scientists with NASA.
Who's admitting what? Sorry, who? NASA's not admitting it.
NASA spokesmen are admitting that their latest project is encumbered with difficulties because of the Van Allen radiation belt. And yet, at the same time, they're saying that
not in the same
we sent
sense
12 people to the moon.
Not in the same sense that they discredited absolutely all space travel altogether.
Say that again?
Not in the sense that they've discredited all of space travel altogether.
Well, they're having their cake and eating it. On the one hand, they're insisting that we sent 12 men to the moon, no problem. 6 journeys to the moon, no problem. Through the Van Allen belt. And on the other hand, they're saying 45 years later, with all the technical improvements, which are vast, they're saying, oh, we can't actually do it at the moment because we're frightened of killing our astronauts because of the Van Allen belt. In other words, it's an impossible contradiction.
So again, to what ends do they falsify space travel and media and all of our technological advances?
And one reason is to prove the globe. If they're going to prove the globe, they've got to prove that all the stars are globes, that the moon is a globe. And the way they do it is with CGI pictures, computer graphic images and Photoshop images, which they supposedly take from satellites, but not one of them is a real photograph. So, but they're believed. They have a reputation because they've sent men to the moon, and so people believe these images. I don't believe them at all. Otherwise, I mean, if they showed me one real picture of the Earth from outer space, one proper, pure photograph of the Earth, then I would throw away the flat Earth and go back to the globe.
Well, what do you think is out there then?
What do I think?
Is out there?
Well, flat Earth theory, I'm stuck with that. Everything that I think is mere speculation. But flat Earth theory says that the stars are not much further away than the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon And trigonometry bears this out, and the sextant bears this out. The sun and moon are about 3,000 miles away. Possibly the stars are no more than 4,000 or 5,000 miles away, or even less. And they're just lights. Flat Earth theory says that they're not planets. They're lights. They're the heavens. And this is what all the old timers believed in the ancient civilizations. But they're heavenly lights, not planets.
To become what?
To become what?
Just visuals?
Yeah, they're just lights that we see. It's the kind of magic, really. Don't forget the Flat Earth theory takes us back to the Bible and the idea of a creator, a magical superpower. I don't know if he's still here. He may have gone on to other worlds. But if Flat Earth theory is correct, then this can only have been created by a superior, unbelievable force that we can't even imagine what that power is capable of doing. So we have the heavens, we have the stars, we have Polaris, we have all the stars revolving around Polaris, we have the constellations that have stayed the same, exactly the same, for at least 3,000 or 4,000 years.
So you're speaking about God?
I'm not religious, so I'm speaking about a new possibility for me since I've studied the Flat Earth, that there might have been a creator at some point way back when.
Do you feel as though you might be selling out
Selling out.
in that belief, being an atheist for so long?
No, because I'm completely undecided now. I hated the idea of being agnostic. That seemed like sitting on the fence. But I am at the moment sitting on the fence because if I want to consider the Flat Earth as pretty much at the moment an 80% possibility, then I have to consider the 80% possibility of a creator. But I wouldn't describe that creator because I couldn't possibly know what was here on the planet maybe millions of years ago, whether that force is still alive today, and that would be just pure speculation.
Do you not think that then this is a sense of devolution?
Devolution?
Yes.
You explain what that means.
We're devolving, we're travelling backwards from something that was probably substantiated, concrete, to archaic times.
Well, in a way, yes, because the Flat Earth movement, which is growing rapidly at the moment, is in a way going back to ancient civilizations. The way I would look at it is that we're trampling on the lies of Freemasonry.
And
rather than devolving. In a way, I think it's an evolvement, because what is important is the truth. It's not whether you're going backwards or forwards, it's like finding what is true.
But why believe this suddenly? You think that you've just been lied to all this time, so why not just find a theory elsewise that they might have lied about?
Well, I have found many theories that they might have lied about, including evolution, including false flags.
What makes this true? You're saying it's the distance that these voyagers travelled. That is your main source of evidence.
No, for me it's maybe the most important. But no, there are many proofs.
Go on.
Well, this is a ball, right? I used to play cricket. I used to bowl leg breaks and googlies. So I think I know about what a ball can do. Well, they tell me that this ball is flying around on its axis at nearly 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, 600 miles an hour in Brighton. And I accept that the ball can spin. But then they tell me that the ball is travelling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I accept that a ball can travel in an arc and can spin at the same time. But then they tell me that the ball, Earth, and the sun are going around the Milky Way at 500,000 miles an hour. And here I'm thinking that's a lot of work for a ball. It means that the sun is going around in an arc and the Earth is spiralling around it. But that's possible. I can see that that's just about possible. But then they tell me that the Earth and the sun and everything else in the heavens is moving away from the Big Bang at several million miles an hour. And here I'm thinking, can a ball go in 3 different directions at once while spinning on its axis? And I find myself in doubt. But then they tell me that the moon does everything that the Earth does, plus it orbits the Earth. Which means that the moon is travelling in 4 different directions at once and orbiting around its axis. And here I say no, that's impossible, that's ridiculous. A ball can't do that many things. So there's one proof.
And what other proof?
Simple one is aeroplanes. An aeroplane, in order to, say, go from London to New York, has to go round a considerable curve. It works out that a plane, and the average travel of a plane is about 500 miles an hour. A plane travelling at 1,000 miles an hour would have to dip its nose every minute. It would have to dip half a mile in order to maintain its altitude. But pilots don't do this. The reason can only be that the Earth is pretty well flat. If a plane just went straight ahead, it would actually go off into space. No plane has ever gone off into space. And there's been billions of planes. You'd think it would have happened.
How could you know this?
How could
you know this not having a pilot's license?
Pilots have been interviewed on YouTube and they admit that they don't have to keep dipping their plane.
But what about a plane that starts at one point and travels around the globe to end at the exact same point?
Yeah, well, that's very easy on a plane or a ship. You're simply going around the globe. Say you was a ship, you might go around the globe like this, look, through the Panama Canal, round the Horn of Africa, and come back to where you started. Simple. Same thing with a plane.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to close on?
Yes. I'd like to prove conclusively that when I say science is pseudoscience these days, I can give a really good example of it. I was watching a newsreel channel where there was a studio discussion and Richard Dawkins was present and a famous scientist, Lawrence Cross, is an astrophysicist, very famous. And Richard Dawkins nodded in assent to everything that Lawrence said. And Lawrence said very simply, at the beginning there was nothing, absolutely nothing. And then along came gravity and created a Big Bang. And from this Big Bang of nothingness, all the millions of tons of material that are flying around the heavens were created. This is such a stupid story. Nothing can come from nothing. It defies logic, it's so stupid. And yet, because it comes from a famous scientist, people believe it. Think about it, people. It's ridiculous. Nothing can come from nothing.
That concludes our interview. Well, Dave,
Thank you, Jamie.
no problem. I hope you enjoyed tonight.
Yes.
And on that note, we'll end it and possibly see you next week or the week after that. All the best. Do you have a closing gambit?
I've just done it.
That is it. Alright,